All right, metals, nonmetals, metalloids. So some classification, some properties. Let's get to it. Metals. Most elements are metals. Left side of the periodic table, seen in blue here. So see, look how much blue there is. Most of the elements on the periodic table are in fact metals. And remember, metals tend to lose electrons when they form compounds. So some properties of metals, they're conductors of electricity, hence this little image. They're conductors of heat, that's why pots and pans are made of metal. They're ductile, so that means they can be squeezed out into a wire, like copper wiring. They can be malleable, so always think mallet, like a hammer. They can be hammered or rolled into sheets like aluminum foil. They have luster, shiny. They're solids except for mercury. One exception, mercury is the only liquid metal. All right, so let's talk about transition metals. They're in groups 3 through 12. They don't have the same number of valence electrons in each group. So they're less reactive than the alkali metals. They're less reactive than the alkaline earth metals. And in fact, some of them are among the most least reactive elements we have, like gold, palladium, and platinum. Now, they have properties of metals, like they're conductors, they're ductile, they're malleable, and they have luster. So here is where the transition metals are, okay? They're located between the main group elements. Remember, main group is 1 and 2, and then 13 through 18. So here we have transition metals. It also includes the inner transition metals down here that we're going to talk about. So those are the lanthanides and actinides. Okay, they're the inner transition metals. The first row follows the element lanthanum, and those are typically shiny metals. The second row follows the element actinium, and those are typically unstable nuclei with radioactive metals, and an example of that is uranium. So look, here, right here, lanthanides, and they're put down here, but you'll see in a little bit where they would be if they didn't break the periodic table like this. So let's look here. So see, starting right here, the actinides, okay, again, found in this F block below the periodic table, but beginning here with actinium. So if we didn't cut that out, if we didn't make it a bottom block, this is what the periodic table would look like. So you see how it's stretched out longer. Everything that's written in there would get smaller. So just for ease of printing it on paper, the periodic table has the lanthanides and actinides below. But here is really where the lanthanides and actinides would belong if they were put into the periodic table in their correct location. Okay, and again, you can see just as a reminder, alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, lanthanides, and actinides. We have transition metals. We have non-metals over here. We have noble gases, halogens. Down this, we have metalloids. These are also metals over here. Okay, so metal, 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 metals, metalloids, which we'll talk about, and then non-metals over here. This one is noble gases. So these are some examples of metals. Remember, mercury, the only metal that is a liquid at room temperature. We've got silver, gold, palladium, rhenium, osmium, nickel, copper, whole lot. Okay, most of the periodic table. And you could see shiny, luster, malleable, ductile. Okay, conductors of heat, conductors of electricity. Those are kind of the big properties. And remember, they tend to lose. They give it up. Oh, whatever, fine, take it. Take it. I'm happier without it. Take it. They get their stability by losing those electrons. Nonmetals, on the other hand, are on the right side of the periodic table, except for hydrogen, kind of the oddball. And those nonmetals are seen in yellow here. So you can see a much smaller selection of elements. So the properties of nonmetals, instead of being conductors, they are insulators. So they do not conduct heat and electricity. They're dull, they're brittle, and they can be either a solid, a liquid, or a gas. So we have a wide variety in terms of states of matter. So here are some examples of nonmetals. Oxygen, a gas, bromine, a liquid. So that's going to be our only liquid nonmetal. So we have one liquid metal, mercury, one liquid nonmetal, bromine. But you can see we have gases, we have solids, and we have solids in varying states from powders to something more hard like carbon and sulfur in this visual here. Metalloids. So metalloids, it's kind of like a metal, kind of like a nonmetal. So they're in between metals and nonmetals. Here they're seen in pink. Something that's interesting to note about them is the list of metalloids is not consistent across textbooks, across resource. So I'm going to kind of address that. You can see here our metals are in red, most of the periodic table, non-metals in blue, and then the metalloids in yellow. And you can see that's slightly different from what we just looked at. And again, slightly different from what I'm going to show you right now. Here you could see this just classifies the metals and nonmetals as other specific things, but you can see this right here. This bright green is representing metalloids, which looks different again. So sometimes these two are included, polonium and astatine, as metalloids. This group right here is always included. So let's look at another representation. Okay, this slide for some reason is taking me a million takes, but here we go. Let's try again. This as the periodic table as you're given it. And I want to talk about it because this is your reference. So let's look at the locations of solids, liquids, and gases. Almost every element on this periodic table is a solid, so I'm not going to focus on that. So let's focus on the exceptions. If I don't mention it, it's a solid. If I do mention it, it's either a liquid or a gas. So let's do gases first because we cover noble gases, all of group 18. Hydrogen, that is a gas. And then we have 4 more, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and chlorine. So noble gases, gas, hydrogen, gas, and then NOFCl, gases. Okay. And then there are 2 liquids, 1 metal, 1 nonmetal. So remember we had F and Cl that were gases. The next one in the list, bromine, is a liquid, and then further down, those are solids. So bromine is the liquid non-metal, and Hg or mercury is the liquid metal. So hydrogen, group 18, NOFCl are gases, bromine and mercury are liquids. Everything else is a solid. But the real reason I'm going to show you this table is, see this line right here? This line separates metals and nonmetals. Metals is almost all of the periodic table, so that's everything over here. Nonmetals is a smaller section. But we do have elements that are considered metalloids, and they have to be touching this line. Not every element that touches the line is a metalloid, but it can't be one unless it is. So let's see what I mean by that. First one, boron, touches the line, metalloid. Si, touches the line, metalloid. Aluminum technically touches the line, but I always try and remind students, aluminum you should know is a metal. We make foil out of it, right? Then we have 2 elements right here that touch the line, GeAs, both metalloids. Then we have, here's the line, we have 2 elements that touch the line, Sb and Te, beautiful, metalloids. These are the only ones that are agreed on, that always these ones, B, Si, Ge, As, Sb, Te, always metalloids. So the only one touching the line up here that is not a metalloid is aluminum. So that's the oddball. You gotta remember that one. Now down at the next period, so in period 6, we have 2 more elements right here. Sometimes they're referred to as metalloids, sometimes just one of them, sometimes both of them. So sometimes PO, sometimes AT, sometimes both, sometimes neither. So this is the exception. So these first 6, B, Si, Ge, As, Sb, and Te, must know those are metalloids. These 2 could kind of go either way. Seems to be kind of flip-floppy across the board. All right, so what are the properties of metalloids? Well, they have properties of both metals and nonmetals. So they're semiconductors. They kind of conduct electricity. They kind of conduct heat. They tend to be brittle, but they do tend to have luster. So again, some properties of both. So here are some metalloid examples. Silicone used in computer chips. That's probably the one that people might be most familiar with. Okay, STP stands for standard pressure and temperature. We find it in table A, so easy peasy. So you should not say, I wonder what standard temperature is and get it wrong. Literally just look it up. So when you look it up, you will see here are the values for standard temperature. Here are the values for standard pressure. Easy peasy. Now, 298K is also used a lot in your tables. So in table S at the very bottom, you will see this, that the density for the liquids and solids is determined here at that temperature and pressure. And then also at the top of table I, you will see 298K referenced for the heats of reaction. So if a question on the exam or test mentions 298K, you should be thinking, oh, they're telling me as a hint, I should probably use my reference table. Now, there are some important temperatures for water to just memorize. So 0 degrees Celsius is the freezing point and melting point of water. 100 degrees Celsius is the boiling point, and also the reverse would be the condensation point of water. And then at room temperature, which is somewhere between 20 and 25 degrees Celsius, that's an appropriate temperature to be thinking about in your head. So these temperatures must come from your brain. Now, we use table T, a formula in table T, to do temperature conversions, okay? So here is the formula, all right? So here, if I have this, and it says to convert 255 Kelvin to Celsius, I simply write down the formula, but I plug in what I know, and the number I know right now is Kelvin. So in place of the K, I put the number I know. Now I just solve this math problem. So I subtract 273 from both sides, and that gives me my answer in Celsius. Now, what if I'm not given a Kelvin temperature? What if I'm given a Celsius temperature? Well, I do the same thing. Now I have a number and it's in Celsius. So I replace the Celsius in my formula with the number I'm given. And now I just have to add those two terms. But notice one is a negative, so you just have to be careful. And I'm going to get this as my answer in Kelvin. Now, in your notes, you have some additional problems. Practice, because you need to know how to do these temperature conversions. All right, let's talk about which elements are solids, which are liquids, and which are gases on the periodic table. Well, the first one is easy peasy. These are called noble gases, so they're obviously gases, okay? But there are a few other elements that you need to know are gases. One is hydrogen, and then we have this little l, N, O, F, and Cl. So all the noble gases, this little L here, and then hydrogen are gases. Which elements are liquids? Only two. One is a metal and one is a nonmetal. So we have mercury right here and bromine. So what you should notice, this is group 17, the halogens. It starts out with gases, has one liquid, and the remaining elements are solids. It is the only group on the periodic table to have an element in every state of matter at 298K, at room temperature, at STP.
Here's what you should know. Melting means going from a solid to a liquid, right? And boiling is going from a liquid to a gas. So what that means is that if the temperature of a substance is below this number, it is a solid. If the temperature of a substance is between these two numbers, it is a liquid. And if the temperature of a substance is greater than this number, it is a gas. So, solid, liquid, gas. Okay? So what that means is if hydrogen is at 10 degrees Kelvin, it is a solid. If it is at 16 degrees Kelvin, it is a liquid. If it is at 30 degrees Kelvin, it is a gas. Why does this help a great deal? Well, it matters look for example right here, bromine, which is one of the only liquids at STP. Well, what is STP? So let's make a note. 0 degrees Celsius or 273 Kelvin. Okay, so let's look at bromine again. Here we go. So where is 273? Well, you know what? It is right in between those two numbers. That means at 273 Kelvin, at standard temperature. Bromine, what is it when it's between? A liquid. So you could do this for any substance and it will save you so much time, so much easier. The one thing you have to be careful of is these temperatures up here. You see they're in Kelvin. So if you have a number in Celsius, you have to add 273 to it first before you can do this. But if I said let's look at argon, at 85 Kelvin, what state of matter is it? Well, it's between these two. Bam, liquid. What state of matter is potassium? At 1040 Kelvin. Oh, that's above this number. Gas.
All right, so this type of element is a good conductor. Which one? Metals, right? Metals are good conductors of both electricity and heat. Okay, so you can see in this GIF, we get to wood, it doesn't light up, but we use other elements like copper, lights up, glass does not, steel, it does, metals, conductors. This type of element is usually dull and brittle. That would be a non-metal. This type of element has properties of both metals and nonmetals. That would be a metalloid. This type of element is a poor conductor. That would be a nonmetal, remember. This type of element is malleable. That would be a metal. We could also describe it as ductile, being able to be stretched out into a wire.